Welcome to GC365. I'm Cammie Barker.
Hey, I'm Jen Olson.
Yes, and she's my good friend joining me today as we jump into day number 49 of the One Year Bible. Hopefully you've been enjoying this so far. We're well past the 21-day mark, so you've all got this as your habit. Good job. And if by chance you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We're glad that you're here. Going into day 49, we start with Levitical law. The book of Leviticus, chapter number 6.
It's rough.
It is rough. It is rough. We had nothing but laughter as we started talking about this because this is the way that Jen and I think. If you can see this is a giant flow chart. Everyone's got something they have to do. They start here, then they have to go talk to the priest.
And I literally thought when I started reading this, if I have to do this, I'm going to have to write out bullets and
totally.
If this, then do that, you know?
Right. So we had a really great time laughing about this. So to us, it's funny to think about mapping it all out. For instance, if you lie, the first question would be, okay, but did you promise to tell the truth? Because I don't know what you do if you just lie, but if you did promise to tell the truth beforehand, then you not only have to pay back what you lied about or stole, that you have to pay
20% more. And
thank you.
There's more.
Yes. You have to burn things.
Yeah.
You have to, take an offering.
Yep.
You have to take a sacrifice to the altar and have it burned by the priests. And it's very complicated. One of my questions as I go through this, I have a big family. We have 5 kids, 4 teenagers and 1 preteen. So I keep going back to, okay, how big does my herd have to be in order to cover all of these sins that my kids might do? Kids lie. It happens.
And you have land. I don't have land. We built up, right? So we were talking about, so if I was going to do an offering at all, it'd have to be like weeds from my garden or something because I don't have room.
Instead of a grain offering?
Yeah. So
nice.
Anyway,
That's
there was a
awesome.
lot of silly discussion about this one to try to make it fun because it's a little rough.
Yeah.
The Old Testament in general is a little rough, but Leviticus,
it is rough. So then I go back to, okay, so you're raising all these animals and you're going to get to know some of these animals pretty well. And I think about, okay, so mom's sitting there going, okay, Susie, you lie one more time. We're going to have to go down to the altar with your sheep that you've been raising. Yeah, that's kind of pulls at my heartstrings. That would be sad. I'm sure they're kind of attached to these animals.
Some of them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
However, there is one that I'm pretty sure Cammie needs to tell us about because, there's a lot of offerings, like sacrificial offerings in the Old Testament. Most of them are lambs. But in this verse, it talks about the perfect ram. This guy's not perfect. This came from my kids. You know?
It has a Band-Aid.
He has a Band-Aid because he's got a hole. So he would not be
He's not a blemish-free.
He's not a blemish-free offering.
Lamb.
So why don't you tell us about Chip?
So when I read this reading for the first time, I actually started a text string with my brothers. I have 3 brothers. Michigan, Montana, and one of them lives here. And we start texting, hey, didn't we used to have a ram? What was his name? His name was Chip. And we had what we called the Wonder Stick or the Miracle Bar. I can't even remember what we called it, but it was the bat that we kept at the front door that when we walked outside, you better be carrying that because if Chip saw you walking and somehow got out of the pen, I don't know how you get out of the pen, but he would ram you. He would hit you. And it was hard, and he was a giant ram, and I jokingly said...
So in other words, he's the perfect sacrificial ram.
I think I might have sinned to get rid of Chip. He could totally go away, because...
You are so funny.
But I don't know if that was the case then. I don't think that they probably did that just to get rid of their terrible rams.
Thankfully.
Right. Okay, so you have to go through all these processes when you bring a sacrifice to the altar, but then there are processes...
Even
more
the priests
flow charts
have to go. Yes, more flow chart. There's flow charts for the people, the priests, all these different things. So I found it super funny that even the priests had to put on specific clothing before they could go out and clean up the ashes from the burnt offering from the night before. So they have to put on these clothes. They have to put on specific undergarments. Then they go do their thing with the ashes, right? Yep. Then they have to change their clothes again. But wait, they're not done. They're not done with the ashes, but they've changed their clothes twice already, right?
Maybe they got a lid on the container.
I don't know, but now they have to change their clothes again and then take them up to the ceremonially perfect place. I can't remember exactly what the words
something
were.
about a fire. You got to keep that fire burning.
Yeah, keep the fire burning the whole time.
No matter what,
don't
make sure
let
that
it go
fire
out.
doesn't burn out.
I think they repeated that at least 4 times.
He did. It was very important.
So it's very important.
Maybe it went out a lot.
Probably.
Yeah. And then there was something about you have to eat in a certain spot, but you can't eat over here. And I'm picturing picnic tables outside versus picnic tables inside. And you got to be careful where you eat. And yeah, there's just a lot of rules.
Lots of rules.
Draw a flowchart for it. Absolutely.
I actually looked up on the internet.
Right.
Leviticus flowcharts. There's like a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, this is actually one of them. I wasn't even joking. This is
It is a
Leviticus.
Yeah, that is the one. Yeah.
I just didn't print it big enough for everybody to see it. So
anyway.
All right. So what I took away from this whole Levitical law thing is that I am praising Jesus for Jesus, because we don't have to go through this. He was our perfect sacrifice. He is our blemish-free lamb. And that was, I am so thankful that we don't have to be there.
Because we would mess up the sacrifice and get it wrong every time.
We could make the flowchart,
we'd be axed from the community.
We would. Oh yeah, there was a lot of axing from the community. Yeah. So I am just super thankful that Jesus is there to cover our sins and be our sin offering. So.
Yes, me too.
All right, so let's jump into the New Testament. New Testament, I want to say that you've read this before. Maybe someone else covered this, but I want to make sure that this is your first time reading the Bible. You have heard these stories before. There are 4, we call them Gospels in the Bible: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And all of them are telling the same story, but from a different perspective. And so you're going to hear the same miracles. You're going to hear the same stories about Jesus and his ministry. Sometimes 1 or 2 will add an extra story, but for the most part, it's the same storyline. And you had asked me a question about the disciples, and hey, isn't this the first time he mentioned them? And it
kind of introduced us to them.
Yeah, it is for Mark, but we heard it before in Matthew. Right. And so in case you're like, hey, I've read about these people before, that's why. Yep. So, and then you had a question.
So I guess I kind of confused myself. He starts out saying Jesus went out to the lake with his disciples. And then later on, right before he introduces us, he talks about his apostles. And I'm like, what's the difference between a disciple and apostles?
So I did some research, kind of thought I knew, but I thought I better double check. Basically, a disciple is a student. We are all students. You can be a student, a disciple, I just mixed the 2 words, as well as an apostle. An apostle. Let's get these words out right. So an apostle would be an evangelist, somebody who is called to share the word, the gospel. And so they're called out by him. But anyone can be a disciple.
Yeah. So they could be both.
Right. And then another question that we kind of went through as we went through Mark was about demons.
Oh, yes. I thought this part was very interesting.
Yeah. So why did he silence them?
Yeah, I was like, why is he saying don't reveal me yet?
Right. So I always thought it was a timing thing that, just like he wasn't supposed to, he told his mom, no, I don't want to perform the miracle with the wine. It's not my time yet, is what he kept saying. But I thought he was trying to say, no, it's not time for me to reveal who I am. But upon further research, and it makes sense to me, is that he didn't want people to believe what the demons said and choose to follow him because a demon told him. He wanted them to follow him because they wanted to follow him, because he wanted them to love him and follow him by that choice, not because they're scared, which makes sense. As a parent, that totally makes sense to me. Totally. And you don't want to scare your kids. You want them to choose love. Yeah. So I just want to give a word of encouragement. I really wanted to end today with encouragement. We go to Psalms, and my thing about Psalms is that David has a lot of feelings. All of these are songs that he's written, and he shares a lot of just feelings. He's mad, he's frustrated, he's sad. But then to your point,
it's kind of like a country song. That's what I was thinking. I mean, he talks about a lot of negative stuff that's happening in his life, but then he kind of, flips it and it's positive. So
I like country music.
I know you don't. So sorry. I'm not a country music fan, but anyway, it totally reminded me of a country song.
Oh, that's hilarious. So I just like that he always ends with a positive, and it's always kind of turning our hearts to the Lord. And something he says, I'm just going to read it. Psalms 37:5. It says, commit everything you do to the Lord, trust him, and he will help you. We all need help. Mm-hmm. And I think we overcomplicate things. I think that we make it more difficult than it is. Thank God we don't have to do the whole lamb thing. We make it too difficult. He's asking us to trust and to commit. And I just encourage you to do those things today. So thank you for joining us. Hopefully you can like, follow, subscribe, all those things. And look forward to seeing you next time. Have a good day.
Bye, guys.